Watch this.
It's been a busy few days for the West Ada School District, but none as busy as today, the first day back to school. We check in on the masks required, but not really, return to class. While the hallways and classrooms have seen a steady stream of people, so has the district office, with thousands of parents turning in paperwork to opt their students out of wearing a mask in school. And it's a considerable chunk of students. In some major U.S. cities, diners are required to show proof of vaccination just to get a seat. That's happening here too, with a new startup restaurant. And it hasn't made all of their customers happy. Not only are they the biggest school district in the state, but they are the last in the Treasure Valley to start the school year. Today, West Ada welcomed more than 40,000 students back to class. Some wearing masks, some not, thanks to a decision by the school board 2 nights ago that masks would be required for all students, K through 12, except those students whose parents turned in opt-out paperwork. And a lot of them did, like thousands. And we're going to have more on those numbers in just a moment. But first, how this was going to play out on the first day of school was on the minds of a lot of people after Tuesday night's meeting and decision. This required, but not really required, mask method. So how did it play out? Well, Joe Paris stopped by Peregrine Elementary to find out.
The book is closed on the first day of school for students in the West Ada School District. Students are getting back into the swing of things with in-person learning. Just ask third grader Sydney.
It was fun. It's cool to see everyone and how they change.
Sydney and her classmates found that so far, the new year isn't too tough compared to her days as a second grader.
It's not really that different. You just learn a lot more things.
Sydney's younger brother also had a big day. He started a huge new chapter to his life.
Kindergarten.
Was today your first day too?
Yeah.
How was it?
Good.
What's it like to feel like a big kid and go to elementary school?
Yeah.
It's good?
Yeah.
Older students at Peregrine Elementary agree. Just ask fifth grader Jaden.
The first day of school was pretty fun. My mom signed a West Ada waiver so I don't have to wear my mask.
Jaden's mom says to her, this is about getting the kids back in the classroom and refocusing on learning. Parents agree that virtual learning was certainly a challenge.
Yeah, I want it to be on education, but I want the kids to be here regardless. If you want your kid to wear a mask, then wear a mask. If you don't, then don't. But let's just all get the kids here. I think that's the most important thing.
Well, parents I spoke with say that they want to just get back on track with in-person learning. The COVID discussion is still there. Parents continued Thursday to submit opt-out forms to the West Ada District office. The long lines from Wednesday are no longer, but still a steady stream of parents were in and out throughout the day.
I'm happy they're back in school. I'm happy there's some normalcy. They compromised, which I think we need to do more of in the country, compromise. And so West Ada seems to have tried to accommodate everybody. Michael is a parent of 2 West Ada students. He says he hopes kids can just get back to what they're supposed to be doing in a classroom. At school, stoked they're back, hopefully they go back and actually learn to read and write and all the rest of it. So other parents agree, although this may not be ideal, it is better than virtual learning.
That's exactly where I'm at. I mean, if the masks are in place, the kids are still present. They're still getting in-person learning. And I know I do online college, so online learning for these guys is really, really tough, especially at the young age. I was actually dreading him going to kindergarten with the online learning, so I'm glad that his year popped up at this point.
We talked about this a little bit last night about this class of masks and no masks. The kids you spoke with today, did they indicate any sort of feeling different if they were wearing a mask or vice versa?
I spoke to a 5th grader at Peregrine who really gave me the best synopsis out of everyone I spoke with today. He said, I can't tell you exactly how many, but some kids were wearing a mask, some kids were not wearing a mask, but it really didn't matter to us. We were happy to be there and see each other. And, I know that there's some concerns with parents about bullying and ostracizing if you're wearing a mask or not. Just from the kids I spoke with at Peregrine Elementary today, I didn't get the impression that that was a problem. Although, a lot of the times, Brian, kids say one thing to adults and others to each other. But the impression I got from the kids is that today went well, and we're hoping that things continue to go well.
Okay, and so you got an indication that there were some kids in these kids' classrooms that were, some that weren't. Just how many? How about this? How many of those students opted out of wearing masks in school in the West Ada School District? Well, again, this is what it looked like yesterday when they began accepting those forms at noon at the district office. lined up around the building. They asked parents to drop them off in person so they could confirm identities and such. Hundreds of them showed up throughout the day, and it stayed that way the entire day. They were accepting forms until about 8 o'clock last night. So many filed through to file their forms, Steve made sure to send us this text message. I sure hope the 208 will follow up on the results of the number of the West Ada's 40,000 students who have been opted out when all the forms are in. The public deserves to know the size of the local vocal minority who dictate the future health problems of our community, Steve says. Well, Steve, by 5 p.m. yesterday, they had 3,754 of those forms turned in. By 8 p.m., they had 6,384. And the latest update, as of the start of this show today, the district tells us they had or have had 9,281 opt-out forms handed in, which equates to about 23% of the 40,000 students in the district. That is a big chunk, almost a fourth. And that's just so far, because parents still have until 8 p.m. tonight to turn those in, and from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. tomorrow, which means that number will likely grow. And yes, Steve, we will keep tracking this and plan to bring you the total tally tomorrow in the 208. After this week, if any parent wishes to join the opt-out list or those 9,000 other students, they can take care of the paperwork through their student school. But late last night, we also started hearing word that this opt-out option was being extended to teachers and staff, which was odd since this was the motion passed Tuesday night.
I move that we adopt option 3 that allows for parents to opt out. With that option, I'll just leave it at that.
You know what you didn't hear there? What would have fit nicely into that gap Trustee Rusty Kofelt left in his motion? That little pause, that wasn't edited, that was real. Teachers and staff. The terms teachers and staff would have fit nicely in there. They were supposed to be covered by this option as well, but because they didn't say it out loud in that meeting, the school district told us today they kind of had to scramble yesterday. And yes, ultimately, teachers and staff are able to opt out as well. But how they remedied it was to say that they were already covered by the previous recommended umbrella, what the plan was before Tuesday night, meaning they don't have to turn in any paperwork necessarily to the district office if they choose to go maskless in their classroom. However, a few teachers started getting this form sent to them last night from their school. And today we were told while the district isn't requiring paperwork, some schools in the districts might be, as a more comprehensive way to track who opts out of wearing a mask. They did alter the parents' paperwork a bit by adding, should teachers have to quarantine because of an exposure, well, they would have to use their sick time to do so. But like the students' opt-out form, well, it could all be canceled if the district deems COVID spread is too high at any time. Other school districts have been in session for days at this point, even weeks, and have had several students and staff already out and in quarantine. The Nampa School District, which started school last Thursday, 1 week ago today, says right now they have 38 students and 6 staff members across the district that have tested positive for COVID and are now in quarantine. That's out of about 13,000 students in the entire district. The Caldwell School District told us yesterday that more than 10% of the student body at Caldwell High School, as well as Washington and Lincoln Elementary Schools, well, they've been absent. There's about 2,200 kids in those 3 schools for a mathematical total of about 220 kids out because of, well, likely COVID. Of those 78 of them, of those total, I should say, of those 220, 78 of them came from Caldwell High School, and they are at home in quarantine. The Boise School District added another 5 cases today, which brings the total to 30 this week, and 53 since school started last Monday. And that is out of more than 23,000 students in the district. Of the 3, Boise is the only one with a mask mandate. Yesterday, Caldwell changed their requirements, but just for those 3 schools we just mentioned. The rest, just under recommendation still. But the school district is meeting tonight, actually in about 20 minutes, to decide if further changes are necessary. Okay, you got your wallet, and of course you're wearing a shirt and shoes. Now a shot is needed to get served? Well, proof of vaccination to get a table isn't just happening in other cities. But before we talk about that, we want to hear more about what you'd like to see on the 208. Send us your story ideas, your questions, even your comments about today's show. And yeah, we'll listen to your complaints. 208-321-5614. Just include your name in the hashtag the 208. Of course, with the complaints, we like to see them constructive and concise. No shirt, no shoes, no service is an alliterative illustration of what's required in a restaurant, something we've all grown up with. Well, now we can add no shot to that list. In at least one Boise restaurant, as COVID cases continue to increase across the state, some restaurants are doing all they can to stay afloat and keep their customers safe and their staff as well. A new Downtown Boise eatery has decided that having guests show proof that they are COVID-free, that's the best way to do that. Here's Katya Stepovic.
The food is being prepped, peeled, and squeezed to be plated for the next guests. But the next guests at Kin in downtown Boise will all have something in common.
To provide an environment that is welcoming to the guests and to the staff, we felt like it was an important step that we needed to take.
Remy McManus, the owner of Kin, says staff decided collectively that to open their tasting room and be able to offer the best service possible, guests would need to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test 2 days before a reservation.
The people who have supported us for years and years are coming out of the woodwork yet again, and then new supporters are starting to, starting to show us that they're behind every decision that we make.
The feedback they've received online has been harsh, like comparing them to Nazis and the devil. But McManus says the positive feedback outweighs the bad, and their reservations reflect that.
There has been opposition to some of the decisions that we've made, not only with this, but with every with every decision that you make, you'll see opposition.
But McManus says it was the right decision for them.
Sitting very close to your neighbor in lieu of distancing and in lieu of mask wearing, obviously you see, again, a communal experience. When you're experiencing a dinner like this.
We've gotten a lot of support, personal texts, as well as people coming out and saying that they just enjoyed that in a time when they haven't been able to feel comfortable going out and experiencing dining like they had in the past. They now feel like there's a little bit of that.
After over a year and a half of picnic nights, home meal deliveries, and cocktail bar service, McManus was determined to finally open Kin's indoor tasting room. And this time, COVID isn't going to get in the way.
The style of dining is meant to be communal and shared. So much of eating and dining is not necessarily the food and the beverage. That's part of it, but it's connecting with people. And we need to make sure that connection is intimate and genuine, and you can't have that, you're right, if people are feeling apprehensive in ways.
And according to the owners, the extra safety step is worth the reward.
We're not healthcare professionals, We're restaurateurs who are providing an experience to guests that is unlike any other experience that they can have in Boise. We all have families, we all have people that we care about throughout the city. So all of those decisions and all of those conversations lead to the decisions that we make.
Unlike any other, more ways than one for sure. And for those that are not vaccinated and still want to, well, give kin their business, they also do outdoor events and picnics outside their restaurant 2 days a week. Vaccinations not required for those, if you want to show up for those. But a heads up before you do go, if you choose, their cocktail bar closed for the time being. So they say they want to focus on the tasting room, which is kind of where they set out when they started this whole thing right in the middle of COVID. There are fewer unvaccinated Idahoans out there than there were when, well, Kin put that policy in place. I mean, that may be obvious since it's not like we're going to go backwards or anything, but several things have happened in the last few weeks that may have changed hesitant people's minds. The surge of the Delta variant, kids going back to school, and the FDA approval of the Pfizer vaccine. Here's what those vaccination numbers look like now compared to where we were. The trends you're seeing from the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare, this is back in July. And across the board, there were more than 31,000 first doses of the vaccine given out, 31,123. You see those 2-day drops right there in the middle. Those are the weekends, but you can see the overall trending upward there through July. How about August? Well, we're just about a week away from the end of the month, and we're already well past what happened in July. Through Tuesday, August 24th, which is the last day this data was available, there were more than 44,000 first shots in arms, 44,471. So we have seen an increase in demand for the vaccine. Monthly totals are one way to look at it, but how many per day? Well, that's another. In July, those 31,000 doses meant a bit more than 1,000 first dose vaccines were given out around the state each day. And so far in August, that is number totals and jumps to about 1,800 per day. And then you see August 13th, which was the highest total in these past 2 months. That was the one-day total where we had 2,900 first shots that day, so a big jump on that day alone. I mean, it was Friday the 13th. Friday is usually the most popular day to get vaccinated. Maybe people were feeling a little bit superstitious that day, whatever. But it was still about 700 shy of the day, still about 700 shy was the day FDA approved the Pfizer vaccine back on Monday. They had 2,200 shots that day. So not sure if this uptick in vaccinations can be attributed to that FDA approval or fear of catching the virus or whatever. Still too early to tell because the day after that FDA approval, I'll drop back down to 1,100. But every little bit counts.
I'm starting off with a shot of Stanley for this afternoon, as you can see. And again, you can see some of the mountains here off in that distance, but they're dealing with smoke too. And the smoke should be improving a little bit there. If you're thinking about Stanley for the weekend, keep in mind that the temperatures get down to about freezing. It's going to be cold there in some of those early morning hours. That's for the weekend. Temperatures for highs will be around 70 degrees. In Boise, it's 82 degrees, and the winds are calm right now. Expect for some breezes for this evening, and then again, more breezy conditions that will take place for later tomorrow afternoon, maybe even some gusts up to 20, 25 miles an hour for tomorrow night. This is what's happening when you look at the active fires. Most of the fires are here over Northern California, and recently, that's where we got most of our smoke. If you notice the upper air right through here in the pattern, it's coming west to northwest. So it's cutting this off right now. And we are getting, not big, but visually a little bit of an improvement, and the air quality continues somewhere in the yellow category. Now your temperatures this afternoon did get up about 80, 82 degrees, just above 80. As you notice, Caldwell with 84 degrees. There's Twin Falls with 80 degrees. The mountains basically had temperatures in the 70s. It's going to come down a little bit for tomorrow in Boise. But first, let me give you the Stanley weekend forecast. 33 for Sunday morning. Temperatures will be the low to the mid 70s, and look at that, a sunny weekend. Sun Valley, temps will get close to 80 degrees by Sunday. Overnight lows will basically be into the 40s, also a sunny weekend. Sunny weekend for McCall, 76 for the high, and then you look at Sunday, the temperature gets pretty close to 80 degrees. I would say looks fantastic for the mountains. Now here's Boise for this morning. If you look at some of these temperatures coming up, there's 10 o'clock at 63 degrees, there's noontime at 70, 2 o'clock in the afternoon 74, 3 o'clock 76. So tomorrow's temperatures anywhere between 77 to about 78 degrees for tomorrow afternoon, and we've got plenty of sunshine. We'll still have some smoke in there, but I still think we're going to be looking at a little bit of an improvement. Frontal system that moved through the valley that changed to the westerly flow, you can see it up through here to Montana where they're getting some showers. It's moved pretty much to our east, so it's established itself to bring in just a little cooler conditions for the weekend. But after that, we start to warm up as we get into Saturday and Sunday. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. As you see, 79 degrees for the high temperature tomorrow. Then it starts to warm up. There's an 83 Saturday, Sunday 89, Monday with 89 degrees. Temperature drops a bit into next week. And before I go, let me mention, the pattern changes again. Looks like next Monday and into Tuesday. And when that happens, what that's going to do is bring in a little more smoke again. That'll be in the middle part of next week. Well, as we get out of August into September, it is the season. But the nice part is the temperatures are going to be a little cooler as we get toward the end of next week.
Maybe you've heard today is National Dog Day, as if we need a national day to celebrate our dogs, right? Well, we've shown you some cute pictures of your dogs that you sent in to the newsroom, well, pretty much all day long. Don't get me wrong, they're cute and all, and we'll take them. We'll look at them and we'll all just sigh when we see them. But on the 2-8, we're going to do things a little bit differently, our own way, which is why we've gathered up some of the best pictures of your dogs that, maybe more in their natural state. Here's National, how about Derp Dog Day? All right, final minute for comments. A lot of you sending in some support for the restaurant Kin. Like this, we'll be making reservations for sure, says Christine, because of their vaccination or at least negative test policy. Utmost respect for Kin. I'll make sure my vaccinated self eats there, says Flap. A lot of people, though, commenting on West Ada School District. Why don't they put masked students in one classroom, unmasked in another, and let the cards fall where they may? It may keep the bullying to a minimum, asks Tracy. Well, logistically, that'd be hard. So maybe some kids in the GT class that'll have to go to one classroom. You know, they can't kind of separate them, not enough teachers to move people around. So logistically, that just really wouldn't work. The school board didn't approve a compromise solution to masking. They caved to the people who can't see how bad things are likely to get, says Bill, the sentiment of a lot of people as well. And lastly, tonight, as we head off to this Thursday, let me get this straight. You're upset about your child wearing a mask because you want them in school and feel that online schooling didn't work last year. Isn't the point of wearing a mask to prevent the spread of infection so they can remain in school? Sincerely, your overworked respiratory therapist.